As one of the elder statesmen here, you've got so much youth around you. What advice do you give these young guys going into their first game, a rivalry game, and all
that? I mean, let it all out there. Just play as hard as you can. I mean, you just be young and relentless. I think the idea of being young and not knowing any better can either work against you because you're naive, or it can work for you because you're naive, which is a good thing. You don't know any better. You knock a guy down or whip a guy's ass, and you just keep wanting to do it. So correspondingly, you get knocked down, you just pop right back up. You're like, that is equally as annoying. I think that the older guys, when you whoop a kid and he just pops right back up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and goes right for the next player, I'm like, oh, man. Because he just doesn't know any better. It's like, oh, I'm in – this kid's going to be given to me all game. We're going to have to really work. So I think that's just my advice to them. Like, don't treat it too big. Just go out there and go play.
Is that how you were 10 years ago? You went to San Fran for your opener, start left tackle day one.
Yeah, I think I had my own little personal nerves, but, like, yeah, at the end of the day, I just was running around with, like, a chicken with his head cut off. I just wanted to make sure I just let it all out there. So, yeah, I guess kind of the same thing.
Do you miss those days?
Me being young then? I've enjoyed what's happened in my life up to this point. So, I mean, kind of, no. I mean, yes, do I miss it? Yes, but also no. Like, I'm good with where I'm at. Life and time moves on.
David, you banked so many snaps, but curious to see how you're going to adjust to this year's practice schedule that you're on right now?
No, I'm not too worried about it. I feel pretty confident with what we're doing, and I'm excited about it.
Will there be specific days you're going to be off each week, or is it just going to be how you're feeling each day, or how?
You tell me.
You're good for Sunday?
That's the plan.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks, so how much do you need, how much work do you really need? Could you go the whole way without practicing and be ready on Sunday?
I mean, I'll be real. Every year I play, it takes less and less practice to knock the rust off and then be like, all right. Like, I know a bunch of the older guys when we used to play, we used to hit a point where it's like, just give me a couple walkthroughs, make sure I'm fresh, I can go out there and feel good. Like, as long as I can feel my angles out and all that, and like kind of a quick kind of little refresher. So that's kind of how I feel about at this point.
Are angles different with Jordan at all?
No, angles, what I mean more is I think pass protection is an art. It's a constant craft you need to keep honing in on. Not to discredit run blocking, but I do think it's just effort for the most part. Which it's way more than that. I'm just dumbing it down. But I do think, pass protection is an art. It's something from weight distribution to where your feet are to where you hold in your stance to how your first kick is, and that line that you want to draw based on all the different types of dropbacks. Those are the things that I would say that's like a lot of the rust. I think I can speak for most linemen that's when they're practicing, they want to get that feel. That and kind of setting the pads and making sure they're staying low.
Recognize any of the front seven on this year's Bears team?
The linebackers, but I mean the whole front. I think there was a player that they paid from the Titans. So I believe we played him back in maybe last year. But yeah, I heard that, and then obviously I played Yannick back when he was at Jacksonville, and then when he was with the Vikings for a short stint. But yeah, other than that, most of the guys up front are pretty new. So it's a typical game one against like kind of feels like an uncommon opponent. So it's gonna be exciting.
How do you work on your fundamentals? I mean, if you don't really need to do anything, then why do they even do all that stuff in the beginning of practice for everybody, all these fundamentals?
Man, you're gonna get me a fine.
I mean, how do you
practice is important, but not everyone needs practice. That's about as clean as I can give it. I still might get fined for that.
When did you realize that you were in this phase where you don't need that as much as you used to?
Sometimes you don't really know that you're in it until you're already in it. So I think that was kind of the revelation of that. And then, like I said, we're just trying to find what is best for the team and for me to be at my best on Sundays.
Have you thought about the
the first snap, and when you're in the huddle, you can look around and see a bunch of young dudes with big eyes, and you're, besides being the best left tackle, you're also going to settle that huddle down.
I mean, I really didn't think about that. I mean, I hope to not see a bunch of wide eyes, and if they are, they're just a bunch of angry eyes ready to go play some football. But if it is a little too antsy, might tell them to take 2 breaths in their nose, 2 breaths in the nose, and then exhale about 3 seconds out of their mouth, and just relax. It's just football. It's just a game at the end of the day.
Aaron Jones was saying just how calm Jordan is in the huddle. I know he has been out there a ton, but is that just something you've seen from him that it's really hard to kind of rattle him?
I don't know what everyone else is saying. He seems like a complete wreck to me. He's neurotic. There's so many times I'm like, dude, will you just relax, stop stuttering, and just get the play? No, he's been great. I mean, he's chill. It's Jordan, which I love and respect. I mean, I remember when he first got in, I purposely would mess him every day. By design, part of it was a little bit just for my own personal pleasure, but by design, I wanted to try and rattle him because I always like to see what kind of makeup guys are. If they're quick to freak out, I'm like, well, that was pretty easy, which I'm not a huge fan of. You can even go ask Elton. Early on, I gave him the ringer. Ask Zach Tom. I definitely would purposely. I wanted to see kind of what guys have got, and if they show some fortitude early, then I'm going to push harder and harder because I just want to see what their breaking point is, or at what point they start having a little bit of they start squirming. The longer it takes, I think it's a good makeup, or it's a good element for a successful player.
So what did it take to get to Jordan?
I haven't seen much yet, so I haven't seen him too rattled, to be honest.
It's better to do that within the locker room than to let another team be the ones to do it, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, if we can figure it out now and then work on it, that's practice. So we say some certain people do need practice, so that's good.
Speaking of practice, you have practice at trying to rattle people, and you say you haven't really seen it from Jordan. Is that pretty rare, then, that he hasn't been rattled by what you've dished out?
Man, I don't know. I've been really fortunate to have one quarterback consistently for a long time, so I can't say it, but like I said, it's one dimension, and like I said, it's not like a foolproof plan. It's not like I'm batting 1,000 with it. But that's one element that I'm like, good, okay, we'll check the box on that. That's good to have. I'd rather have you be calm than if I'm seeing you kind of antsy. I'm like, well, certain people play. Like I know also guys who somehow, some way play good when they're really antsy, which I don't understand 100%. But
You didn't play in the preseason, but your line, Jordan, great protection. What's the confidence that that's going to continue into the regular season, and why do you have that?
I mean, we got some good guys in the lineup, and I think anytime they start getting more playing time, that's where your growth is going to happen. And I think we don't it is young-ish, but there's some games underneath a decent amount of these guys' belts, so there's an expectation, a standard that we have, and just because the quarterback change doesn't mean like our attitude or effort will change at all. If anything, it should amplify to make sure that he can get as settled in. If he needs more time, then that's what we need to give him.
Any examples of guys who you played with who played better or played really well when they were antsy or nervous?
Josh, neurotic. Brian. I mean, when Josh and Brian played on the right side, and when I came here, they just switched over. But hearing them and experiencing Josh firsthand. I'll give you guys a little story. My first game, speaking of San Francisco, how I get myself ready. I have to build a little confidence in hey, I established I belong, and I remember just being like, okay, usually before games, I'm like, I got this. I am a good player. Go show it. I remember just Josh, the All-Pro and lineman of the year, just being like, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. I'm hearing him say that, and I'm just like. Don't worry about that, David. You just go do I just remember seeing that for a quick second. I'm like, nope, you can do your thing, man. He's just I don't know what he's doing. I don't even know. I'm just gonna pretend like I just did not hear that. Because if it all pros saying that, what does that say about it? Just, again, naive. Part of being naive, it can help you out. Exactly. That part was funny, and he just had his weird, funny quirks. He just was. Him and Brian, they were gems.